係嚟自元號演奏家祖爾同埋科隆電台交響樂團，由侯斯指揮。呢一首係分隔嘅元號協奏曲。
The time right now is 8:30, and in the studio with me now is film critic Howard Elias. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, and we are going to talk about two films, The Miseducation of Cameron Post and First Reformed, which you told me have some kind of a connection.
They're both religious, sort of.
Sort of. Okay, well you go explain
they
your
deal with
process.
churches. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. The Miseducation of Cameron Post, which it came here last week with no publicity at all. The distributor has not promoted this film at all, and you know,
it was included in the Hong Kong Lesbian and Gay Film Festival.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I can't remember exactly when, but not too long ago.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's
now
only
now it's back on kind of general.
It's on
general release.
General release, but it's only playing in 3 cinemas a couple times a day. So it's not, you really have to make an effort to go see it. It's too bad because it's a good film. And I actually bought a ticket. I don't usually buy tickets. Usually I get tickets for free. But this one I bought a ticket. So I went to see it and I enjoyed it. It stars Chloe Grace Moretz, who was in The Clouds of Sils Maria, which I reviewed a couple of years ago. Young actress, 21, up and coming. And she plays the title character, Cameron Post. Now, I would like to think that humankind has become so evolved by 2018 that we can now acknowledge that gay conversion therapy doesn't work. But unfortunately, that practice still exists today, which it's shocking. And there even is one organization in Hong Kong, I won't mention its name because it doesn't deserve any publicity. It still runs, and its services are often recommended by government social workers to families of gay teens. Shocking. So 25 years ago, though, these organizations were very popular in the US and elsewhere, and often affiliated with evangelical churches that see homosexuality as an abomination that can be cured. And I'm saying cured with air quotes around it. It cannot be cured, in case you're wondering. Now, in this film, The Miseducation of Cameron Post, it is 1993, and Cameron is a grade 10 student living somewhere in the US. We don't know where, but it doesn't really matter. And at her junior prom, she gets caught making out with the prom queen in the back of her boyfriend's car. Now, the two girls have been together for a while, we learn, but they've kept their relationship under wraps. Now that she's been outed, she gets sent by her family to a place called God's Promise, which is a conversion therapy camp where the center's leader, Reverend Rick, played by John Gallagher Jr., who's a big indie star. He was in Short Term 12. He was in the movie that made Brie Larson famous. You see, this when I was here with Jonathan a few years back, I reviewed Short Term 12 with Brie Larson, and I said she's going to be a star. And then a year and a half later, she got an Oscar. So I was right. So if you haven't seen Short Term 12, check it out. So John Gallagher plays Reverend Rick, and his no-nonsense sister, Dr. Lydia Marsh, who's played by Jennifer Ely, who was in I Kill Giants and A Quiet Passion. They attempt to cure Cameron and other teenage disciples, that's what these kids are called, disciples, of their misplaced urges by messing with their heads, which is shocking, but true. So this movie is based on the 2012 coming-of-age teen novel of the same name by Emily Danforth, and it received a lot of press at the beginning of the year when it won the Grand Jury Prize at the Sundance Film Festival. So as you said, it played here at the Gay Lesbian Film Festival, and now it's here on general release. The film boasts fine performances by everybody, and it has a well-crafted sense of place and time. You really do think that it's 1993 because there's nice touches there with push button telephones and things like that.
And what about the music soundtrack?
Yeah, right. I'm trying to remember. There was one song. Yeah, there were some songs that were very of the time. Yeah, I can't remember what they are now offhand, but I did notice them. Now, unfortunately, the story, which was co-written by director Desiree Akavan, who did her first film was Appropriate Behavior, and this is her second, as far as I know. It lacks passion. This is the problem with this film. It lacks passion because I think you needed the passion to build emotional connections with the characters. and that to me was lacking. So it's an interesting film to watch, and there's good performances, but there's a disconnect between the audience and the characters. So I think that would have made it a really good film. And there's a few subplots that offer hints of sparks, but they don't go anywhere. And so, for example, there's one where the happy clappy reverend, as I like to refer to him, he reveals to Cameron that he himself is a quote unquote reformed gay man, and he relates his story to her. But all she does is she laughs it off with her pals. It doesn't go anywhere. I think it would have been better, perhaps, if she had found him having a moment of relapse, and I hate to use that word, relapse, and then the two would have to work out what to do about it. To me, that would have been a nice sort of resolution to that subplot. But it just he tells her and she laughs and that's it. Even more disappointing is at the film's climax, something happens to one of the other kids there, who accepts that he can't live this lie anymore, and he takes matters into his own hands. But unfortunately, that all happens off screen. We don't see it, and we don't even see, like, when Cameron figures it out. Well, she doesn't really figure it out. She gets told what happens, but she knows that something's afoot. She doesn't even react. So again, it's like a missed opportunity. So, I would have, these are things that I would have, made it a little bit more, I thought would have made it more impactful. So if these camps didn't still exist today, I'd say, okay, you don't need to see this film. But I think you do need to see this film because I think you do need to know what goes on. And the reality is that camps like God's Promise get very vocal support from people in very high political positions, not just in Hong Kong, but I'm talking in America like Mike Pence. And sadly, if the director was trying to make a point about their insidiousness, she could have hit much harder. So I did like the film. I didn't love the film. I think it is worth watching. And check it out. You got to work. If you're going to see it in the cinema here in Hong Kong, you got to work to find it because, as I said, it's only playing in 3 places sporadically. It's called The Miseducation of Cameron Post. So I give it a tentative thumbs up on that. Next, the second film, also about a church, is called First Reformed. And we were trying to figure out. I think, I think we agree. The film did come here to some film festival at some point. I think it
was in the Hong Kong International Film Festival.
Yeah, I think it was too, and I think I tried to see it and couldn't get it. Well, fortunately, it's available now on YouTube for a fee. You can buy it on YouTube legally. Of course, we only talk about legal. We only talk about legal methods here.
I think it's available now, general release to buy online. You can, but anyway, you could Google it and find out. Okay.
First Reformed.
So is it worth looking for?
Yes.
And paying for.
Yes. It's a shame, I don't know. The film had its premiere last year in Venice, so it's already over a year old. And it's been playing for the past year. It's been playing the festival circuit. It opened in America in May. It opened in the UK in July and never came here. So, but, as I said, we have options here. Now, we've had more than a few films over the years about religious leaders who experience crises of faith. Last year, or I guess a year and a half ago, we had Silence, the Martin Scorsese film about the Jesuit priests who go to Japan. And this one is by noted writer-director Paul Schrader. And Paul Schrader, if you don't know, he's the guy who wrote Taxi Driver, Martin Scorsese film, American Gigolo, Raging Bull, Martin Scorsese film, The Last Temptation of Christ, Martin Scorsese film. So they've worked together a lot. So these two guys, Paul Schrader and Martin Scorsese, like to do films about crises of faith, clearly. So this one is written and directed by Paul Schrader. Now, in this film, Reverend Ernst Toller, played by the absolutely wonderful Ethan Hawke, who is in Boyhood and the Before Sunrise trilogy. He's an introspective and devout minister to the First Reformed Church in upstate New York. Now, First Reformed is a 250-year-old Dutch Reformed church. I don't know if it really exists. It might. I don't know. So it's a 250-year-old Dutch Reformed church that was once a stop on the Underground Railroad. And if you don't know what the Underground Railroad is, Google it. Right? Because it's an important part of American and Canadian history. And these days, the church functions more as a museum than a house of worship, as it struggles to get more than a handful of people to come and pray there on any given Sunday. It's the megachurch down the road that has all the action. That one's called Abundant Life, and it has a large and well-appointed sanctuary, a student choir where the kids wear monogram polo shirts, state-of-the-art multimedia facilities, a very cheery cafeteria, and cinematic, charismatic leadership led by the Reverend Joel Jeffers, played by Cedric Kyles, who many people would know as Cedric the Entertainer. This is one of his very rare serious acting roles, and he's very good in this. He always plays, he's a comedian, and he always plays, these sort of slapsticky roles, but this one he's playing it straight. Now, in fact, Abundant Life owns First Reform, physically owns it, not owns it, they bought it, basically. And we learned that the Reverend Jeffers, installed Reverend Toller, who was a former Army chaplain, in the job. He gave him that job as a favor to him following the death of his son in the Iraq War and the subsequent disintegration of his marriage. Now, one day, Mary, who's played by Amanda Seyfried, who was in Mamma Mia, and Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, quite a few other films. She's one of Toller's few congregants. He's got like a half a dozen congregants. She's one of them. And she asks him to counsel her activist husband, Michael, who would like her to have an abortion rather than bring their baby into a world that's suffering from the effects of climate change. So Toller meets with Michael, and they discuss, the idea of what to do, and then Michael, I don't want to reveal too much, but the Reverend starts delving into Michael's life as an activist, as an environmental activist, and learning more about what's involved. And what he realizes, he starts having doubts about the role of the church, especially large churches like Abundant Life, who rely on, or they cozy up to, the very corporations that are polluting the environment. So the very people that are causing climate change are the ones who are supporting the church. So he sees, this problem here. Now he says something very interesting. The irony. Yeah, he says something very interesting in the beginning, and I can't remember what it is, but something about having opposing thoughts in your mind. And here's the perfect example where he has opposing thoughts. He's dedicated to the church, but he's seeing the problems that the church has, right? Now, Toller, the Reverend, he also has his own problems to deal with, personal problems. He has chronic stomach pain, which he quells with a mixture of alcohol and Pepto-Bismol. It's quite it sounds as disgusting as it looks. And it's very interesting when you see it mixed together. You see it's pollution, basically. It's very emblematic of the pollution that surrounds him.
Do one first, you take the other second.
Yeah, well,
Not mixed together.
He mixes it together.
Yeah.
And although many would argue that Toller has been dealt a bad hand in life, he holds fast to the belief that man can't possibly understand God's ways. He accepts that he can't understand this. But that whole notion is put to the test as the day of his church's big anniversary celebration approaches. And it's then when he decides he needs to set things right before he dies. So that's what this film's about. Now, I've left out a lot because I don't want to spoil it for people. Now, First Reformed is somewhat of a cross between the 1951, yeah, I didn't think about that, cross between the 1951 French film called Diary of a Country Priest and Taxi Driver, if you can imagine.
No, I can't.
Well, it is. It's a cross between these two films. Now, like Toller, the priest in this 1951 French film, he lives an ascetic lifestyle, and he's diagnosed with stomach cancer. So the characters are very similar. And in fact, Schrader says he used that film as an influence for writing this film. So he's paying homage to that film. But like Taxi Driver's Travis Bickle, who is Robert De Niro's character, Toller undergoes a personal ritual to prepare himself for his moment of vengeance against the evil that surrounds him. You can argue that Travis Bickle was an avenging angel, and Toller becomes an avenging angel as well. Now, like Taxi Driver as well, the ending of First Reform is ambiguous, perhaps frustratingly so. It ends very abruptly, and you just go, or at least I just went, what? You know, what did I just see? The ending is very strange. And I think this probably explains why audiences don't like this film as much as critics are liking this film. I can think of 4 possible explanations of what the ending means. And one of them has to do with the choir singing the song, "Are You Washed in the Blood of the Lamb?" Now, look, I'm Jewish, I don't know this one, so I had to Google it. And that hymn asks if the person has been restored and redeemed by the love and the power of God. So I think Toller was, but I could be wrong. So, if you see this film and you would like to share your thoughts with me, please contact me. We'll do this offline because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen the film. But yeah, it's a very ambiguous ending. And even, Taxi Driver, you remember Taxi Driver? He gets shot and then it flashes, it goes forward and suddenly he's okay. And you have to think, is this whole a dream? Like, is he dead or is he alive? So it's also ambiguous. So again, he's like taken elements of these 2 stories and weaved them together, which was very well done. Now, in terms of acting, Ethan Hawke is outstanding in his portrayal as the Reverend. I guess he's probably, because the film came out last year, he won't be nominated for anything. I guess he's missed that chance for this film. Oh no, maybe the film would be eligible this year for awards.
It just depends on the date.
Yeah, he really is fantastic. Now, unlike many actors in Hollywood who make regular visits to the quote-unquote dermatologist, right, he bears his furrowed brow for all to see. And it really works as we see the emotional toll, the physical toll that this whole episode is taking on the Reverend. So he's really well suited for this role. And he's very understated in his performance. So it's like really it's a fabulous performance. And I have equal praise for Amanda Seyfried, who I really don't like as an actress. But she's fantastic here. I think this is the best role she's ever done, because she dials her emotions way down in her portrayal of this young woman who may not be all that she seems. And that's part of the ambiguity of the film's ending. There's a lot of symbolism here because her name is Mary and he's a priest and his dead son's name is Joseph. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. So this is a quietly powerful film. You should definitely check it out. So as I said, it's available on YouTube for purchase, and you said it's available on Now TV.
Yeah.
So, and you can find it called First Reformed. Highly recommended, with a crazy ending. So.
Well, maybe it might not be so crazy to other people. Maybe it's just you.
Maybe it's me. I don't know. But okay. So if you,
I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah. So if you watch it and you think the ending is like, what? Let me know and we can discuss offline.
Okay. Perhaps next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Howard Elias. Thank you.